YouTube requires that extra step. So, all right, looking good. Just give everybody a couple minutes to get in here. Oh, I gotta. Cool. Looks like we are live. So, yeah, feel free to ask me any questions about anything, audio related. It doesn't even necessarily have to be related to this mix, but we are here to help. So today we're going to be mixing a track that I put together from Dylan's drums that we recorded at Telefunken Studios with some awesome vintage mics. And we have, I had like an old track that I did with my good friend Steve Gregoire. And we actually took that track, muted the drums, and put them on top of Dylan's drums, and then kind of stretched everything into like a brand new track. And it's kind of like a music bed, like a kind of Fish jam bandy type thing. But it was pretty cool, and I thought it would be a good one to just do a quick mix of. And also, in addition to recording the drums at Telefunken, we actually reamped the bass and the guitar with Telefunken mics and some other mics. So a lot of this mix is going to be just kind of going through the different like feeds that we have and picking the best sounding ones for this particular song. So first things first, Dylan put together actually a video from the session that I wanted to play for everybody. So let's check that out. Here we go. All right, cool. So that was kind of like the promo video, just showing like the reamping and the drumming. So that's like kind of the visual of where these drums came from. So let's take a look at the session and see what we've got. Make sure my screen's right. All right, cool. So we have a bunch of tracks, like a lot, for a 40-second piece of music. So basically what this is, there's 4 mic positions, but each mic position has multiple mics. So we're going to choose a good mic from these. So we did part vintage Neumann mics, because in addition to Telefunken mics, at the Telefunken studio, they actually have a bunch of vintage Neumann and AKG mics, because originally those companies, they all started in Germany, and there was a lot of cross collaboration between personnel and technology and whatnot. So we have several vintage and modern Telefunken mics on each drum and drum position. And we have, then next is the basses. So I have, let's see what this is. This is, I believe, this is just the DI. These were like the original basses that I had in the original track, and then these are the reamped ones. So this is through the Telefunken M80. And then the bass edge solo, so that's the Antelope edge solo mic modeler, which I also stemmed out into these models. So we have a modeled D112 a modeled MN20. I think that's a RE20. Modeled 251 Telefunken and a modeled SM57. So I actually have the real 57 and the Telefunken M82 as well on the bass. So I have some pictures of what that looks like. That was here. So this is the Edge Solo. And then I got the Telefunken M82. And this was the Telefunken M80. Is that right? Yeah. And there's a 57, I believe, right under this one. I tried to keep the this bass amp actually has four different woofers, so I tried to keep all the mic capsules as close as possible for phase coherency. But this one I just put over on this other cone for whatever reason. And this was the guitar amp. I did it through two different guitar amps. So this was with Neumann KM84 here, Shure SM57, and Telefunken M80. And this is another angle of that same thing. And there's the 57 right there. And this is the Edge Solo. And then, I believe, oh yeah, there's one more amp here. So this is the other amp. It's a very similar amp too. It's just, and similar mic position, just kind of a different sound. So that's why we have like 4,000 tracks for what is essentially a drum, a bass, and two guitars. And then there's a couple of piano and organ tracks in there too. All right, so first things first, let's pull all the faders down, because I like to start my mixes from scratch. I had some mastering stuff on here. We can just take that off. By the way, let me know in the comments what DAW y'all are using. You know, because I've been using Pro Tools, but I also use Logic and Ableton pretty regularly, so I'll be doing some Logic and Ableton sessions. Let's see, can I reset the... I guess I can't reset them on here. In Logic, you can just reset the channel strip setting, but Pro Tools doesn't have that feature yet. So we'll just take this off, no big deal. All right, so let's bring all our faders down. Just select all, the all group. Make sure groups are enabled. I gotta bring the master fader back up so we can hear stuff. And, oh yeah, so I got new headphones because everybody keeps asking about my headphones, and I've been on the Beats for like so many years, and I've been meaning to get something new, and I finally got inspired. So I got the Sennheiser HD 600s, which are open back headphones. They're really good for mixing. They sound great. So far, I love them. I wouldn't recommend them for necessarily anything besides mixing, because since they're open back, it's basically like a speaker kind of out the back. So, you know, it's like there is going to be a lot of bleed, especially if you're recording a vocalist. And also, there's a lot of bleed in too, what I've noticed. You know, because the Beats are noise canceling, so I would get that like noise canceling effect. But with these, it's I love it already. It's just like a totally different headspace. So definitely recommend those for mixing only, or just listening. All right, so let's take off the groups, and then we're gonna pull up our kick faders. We're gonna start with the kick and see which kick mic or mics we like. So the first is the EV666, which is the informally known as the donkey mic. Let's take a listen to this. Let me make sure my mix is going through so you guys can hear what I'm doing. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so that's kind of It's kind of got like a papery, like kind of upper mid-range sound for the kick. A lot of that head rattle. Not too much in the low end. All right, so let's take note of that, and then we'll pull up the next one. This is a D12, which is kind of like a vintage D112. That's a lot more of that low end punch. So this could probably be combined with maybe the EV666 or the Telefunken AMD2. Yeah, and that's kind of in the middle. That's more of the punch. It's not quite as like, it's a lot more defined. I feel like the other one was like getting a lot more decay. This is more like attack and punch. So let's try combining these. Let's just combine this and the D12. Alright, that's nice. It doesn't really have a lot of like punch. Let's try the donkey mic. That has a little more of that punch. That's kind of a nice sound. Let's take a listen to the rough mix again, because that's a good idea to always be referencing the rough mix when you're doing this stuff, so that you're getting like the vibe of the song. I mean, I am familiar with the song because I wrote it, but if I was just mixing it and someone just sent me these files to mix, I would want to listen to the song first so I can get like a vibe. So let's just take a listen. I'm gonna just play the video again and take a listen to the mix. All right, cool. So it's got that kind of like, you know, weather channel, like music bed type vibe. So I don't think we're gonna need like a super subby kick. All right, so let's take a listen. Let's see what we have here. So I don't think we're actually gonna need the sub because we don't need too much knock. I think we can kind of leave some of the low end space for the actual bass to live, and then we'll kind of carve out a frequency like a little bit above the sub for the kick to kind of punch. And I think just with nothing else, these two mics together gives that the best initial with nothing else, gets us the closest to where I want it to be. Let's see if we can balance those any differently. Maybe actually put a little bit of that sub in there. Now I want to throw the Oxford drum gate on these. Let's see. That'll give it even more punch because we won't have any bleed. And actually this D12, since we're only using the sub, we can actually filter out the top end. literally just going to take it right off. But I don't want it to be so sustained. So I'm actually going to throw Oxford drum, not the drum gate, the transmod on there to make it a little more punchy. This isn't really giving the sound I want. Maybe the waves smack attack. That's what I was thinking. Let's see, smack attack. That makes it a lot more punchy and concise. And then if you bypass, you can hear it has all that sustain and kind of, you know, there isn't really that much focus to the sound. So let's hear that with the other two. And we got to set our drum gate on the Telefunken mic. Now this one has a little bit of the top end that I'm going to try and sculpt out a little bit. So we'll just, because I want to get more of the top end from this, from the Donkey mic. The Donkey mic's basically going to be like the main mic here. And now let's throw the three of these on aux together so we can treat them as one unit after this. Just do bus 15, random bus. So this is going to be kick bus. All right, now we got our kicks. Now the snare. Now our bus is actually clipping. Now we're in 32-bit, so that's not that big of a deal. But let's just bring these down a little bit so we're not clipping the bus, just so we can be totally safe. Bring a little more of that sub in there. All right, let's hear the snare. Let's actually mute the kick for now. Taking a listen. This first mic is the Shure. Is it Shure? No, I think it's the RCA 77DX. This is like an old vintage mic. Let's see. Yeah, old vintage mic. This one looks almost as wild as the EV666. So this is a ribbon mic, so it's got that like natural dark sound with a lot of detail. I was definitely loving this mic. I gotta turn my headphones up a little bit. I'm having some trouble hearing. I think I put way too low of a level here. It's another good trick when you're starting mixes is you're gonna want to turn your monitor level way up, so then you don't have to like crank the faders, and you'll give yourself more headroom on your mix. So if you turn it louder than you would normally listen to, like I was just listening to music before here, and on my headphone mixer I had it at like -30, and it wasn't loud, but it was a good volume for like pop music. So I just brought it up to -16. So that's almost 15 dB louder. It's a good amount. All right. So this does have some ghost notes. So those may not gate as well. Let's hear how they work with the gate. Yeah, see, they're not even in there. Yeah, so this might be just ungateable, or maybe we'll gate like one or two of the mics if we even use all the mics. All right, so that's the 77. Next we have the KM84, Neumann KM84, very bright mic. A lot of hi-hat. It almost sounds like a snare bottom mic. We did like the snare shell position on this one, but it's very trebly, not too much bass. Then we have the Telefunken M80. That's actually even almost brighter. It's like it's got that kind of upper mid-range, almost harshness. Let's hear this. This is the Telefunken M81. I'm not sure exactly the difference between these two, but they're very similar. They just, sound slightly different. Both affordable dynamic mics. I think I like the M81 a little better for this sound. It sounds a little thicker. And if we're going to use that KM84, we're definitely going to need some thickness. Let's hear the 77 again. See, it sounds like a different snare almost. The mic is just so different. KM84 is a small diaphragm condenser. So we have a ribbon, a small condenser, and two dynamics. So I'm almost going to use probably this ribbon for like the base of the snare, and then maybe one of the Telefunkens for like the top end, I feel like. Let's bring in that M81, see how that sounds. I actually think I like the M80 a little better when it's blended in. Definitely a lot of hi-hat in there. I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue for bleed as the kick, so I don't think we're actually going to need to worry about the gate so much because we can't even use it anyway. All right, I'm going to group our snares. This is another way of using like mix tools to your advantage. What I like to do is throw them on a VCA and then take off the group. So now the way this works in Pro Tools, snare VCA, is I can control, I have to set the group. I can control the group with my VCA, but if I go to an individual one, it'll be free. So I think that's a really cool, convenient way of putting your faders together. On the kick we bust everything to an aux, so I can adjust the level there, and then I brought the kick down because it was way louder than the snare. But this is a way that I can do that with the snare as well, and I don't necessarily have to bust things together. And it'll mute them as well, solo and that sort of thing. So let's actually mute the snares and the kick, and let's hear our mono overheads and hear what these are sounding like. So we have a U47, a U67, and this may not actually be totally accurate. They may have put a different mic up there. I can't remember exactly. We may not have actually updated the comments in the Pro Tools session. But then we have a Telefunken 47, and the TF11. So the Telefunken 47 is like the modern U47. 67 is classic Neumann mic. A lot of hip-hop producers use it for vocals. Well, all kinds of genres use it for vocals, actually. That's one of my favorite mics. It's pretty much like a tube version of the U87. It's kind of how I think of it sonically. And then the TF11, I actually really love this mic. This is really cool. This is from their newer, I believe it's the Alchemy series. Very affordable, large diaphragm condenser. So let's hear the U47. Cool. It's got a lot of mid-range. It's got that nice like warm top end. Definitely get the warm vibe. All these were recorded through their API console, no EQ or compression, just straight pre into Pro Tools. The U67, it's still got that warmth factor, but it's definitely a little more in the high end is what I'm hearing. Let's hear the 47 again. A little punchier, like a little more, it almost sounds like more compressed on the U67. I'm not getting the transients as much. Like the U47 is, I'm really hearing those hits. Let's hear the TF47. This is a modern mic. Almost sounds like halfway in the middle of those two. Very smooth. It's got a little more information in the top. And let's hear the TF11. That's pretty similar too. A lot of definition up top. So I'm thinking for this, we'll go with maybe just a mix of one of the vintage and one of the modern. So let's combine the TF11 and let's try it with the 67. That's pretty cool. Let's try it with the U47. I'm not really as into that one as much. I think I like the 67. So let's hear it with the TF47. I think I like that. A lot of that kick decay on there. Let's bust these together so we can treat them as one from here. Let's see, so we're gonna go bus 16. I just wanted to EQ that a little bit. Get out some of the low end. I don't necessarily want to make it brighter, but I do want to get a little more of that top end. All right, let's hear it with our kick and snare mics. Definitely gives a lot more definition to the snare with this close mic on there. Let's hear it with the kick. I almost want to hear more mid-range in the kick. Maybe we'll bring up a little more of the EV. the sound I was looking for. Let's try maybe throwing an EQ on there. I'm gonna dare try this free EQ from Acoustica Audio. It's like a Neve. Kind of a weird tuning though. I'm not sure if I like that frequency. Let's try a more standard, like 1073 type. Like, let's just use the Sheps. Yeah, that's 700 as opposed to 900. A little more what I was looking for. All right, cool. So far we have pretty decent drum sound put together. Now, let's hear what these kit center mics sound like. So this is the Altec 633. This is like the Beatles mic. This is the D19. Actually, maybe this is the Beatles mic. And then we have M81 for the kit center. It's getting a lot of the kick. I think I like the D19. This gets more of the hi-hat. There's like almost no mid-range in that Altec. And this I might actually want to take out some of the low end. Here's without it. Here's with it. Gives a nice nice full vibe. All right, cool. So that's fine for now for the drums. Just wanted to throw something together real quick so we can have like a bed to develop the rest of the mix. So let's loop some of the bass, and then we're gonna pick one or two of these bass mics. So let's pull this up. Okay, so those are like basically the DI tracks, and I believe that's an amp modeler. This is the actual Ampeg. You can tell because it's kind of noisy. '57's not picking up as much of that amp noise. It was on a different cone. Yeah, from this picture here. Or maybe not. I can't even see the 57. I believe it's right under the M82. All right, let's hear the M82. Yeah. Here's the modeled D112. This is the modeled, I believe it's the RE20. Telefunken 251 modeled. And that's the 57 modeled. Let's hear how that compares to the real 57. I wonder if I ran some noise reduction on that already. I'm thinking that's probably going to be the move here. Get rid of some of this guitar noise real quick. Let's pull up iZotope guitar denoise. Okay, so just playing around with the knobs until we get a good sound in preview here. I always like to make a new playlist. I've got to duplicate the playlist. That way if I want to go back to the undenoised version, I'm going to get rid of the 57 on this. So I'm just going to audio suite this effect on all of these, because the iZotope RX8 stuff definitely works better with offline processing. It's just so intense that the latency is like killer when you use it in real time. So it's definitely the move, because it's some really powerful stuff. I've used it to clean up all kinds of guitar amps. All right, 1 second, be right back while this edits. All right, cool. We are back. Let's hear what this did to our bass tracks. Still quite a bit of noise on there. Let's hear it without it. I guess it's a little cleaner. So let's try to find one that has the least amount of bass buzz on it. I believe it's this 57. I don't know why this one ended up so clean, but I'm thinking this one might be the move to go with. Let's hear that with the drums. Yeah, it's cool. I'm good with that for like the main sound. I may want to find one with a little bit more bass to add in, like sub bass. So let's try to find something with some more sub. Like maybe this D112. And then we can actually filter out the top end on that one. So once again, these reamped tracks, they're like basically what I did, I took the original bass track, which I believe is this one, and I ran it out through the amp like so. Let me show you the picture. So I played that back through my reamp output on my interface, the Antelope Zen Tour Synergy Core. So that went back through the bass amp, and then I recorded all of these new models and whatnot and actual mics onto new tracks. And then I auto-aligned everything to make sure there was phase coherency. So that's kind of where we're at with this so far. But now, like I said in the beginning, what I want to do is kind of narrow this down. So I've basically got my two bass tracks. I'm just going to hide and deactivate the others. And then I'm going to do the same with the drums. All of the drums that we're not using, I'm just going to deactivate. Try and clean this session up a little bit. Now it's like a lot more manageable. I've got 3 kick mics, 2 snare mics, 2 mono overheads, and 1 kit center. And then I got my 2 bass tracks. And now we're on to guitars. So for guitars, there's basically 2 guitar parts, and then each guitar part is run through the 2 different amps. So let's pick some sounds for these. So let's listen to the original first. This is the this was like the plug-in amp. That's the DI signal. That's what ran back out through the amps. And then here, I'm actually going to pop all these faders back up so we can just solo the tracks one by one. Alright, so we have the M80, Telefunken M80. Let's hear the M80 on the other amp. I think this amp is a little cleaner. I believe this is the black Fender, this one here. And then the other one that's a little noisier is this one. Very similar amp, similar sound, and it's the same part anyway, so we can definitely narrow this down to like 1 or 2. So that's the M80. That's the Edge Solo. The 57. Ooh, KM84's got this weird like mid-range thing the other ones don't really have. Alright, let's hear the so this is the modeled 47 FET, and then I have a modeled 47 tube, a modeled Telefunken 251, and a modeled 57. It's pretty cool. Here's the Tube 47 model. I think I like the FET one actually a little better for this. Here's the 251. Here's the 57. Let's hear the original 57. That's the real 57. The model's a little bit thinner. Just a little bit. But I think I liked this 47 FET the best. And then let's hear the original again, the original plug-in amp. That had some reverb and delay and stuff on it too. What if we combine these two? I'm hearing some kind of phase issue. Let's see if we flip the phase, if that helps. It definitely makes it worse. We can try time aligning it. That helps a little bit. It's still kind of hollow, phasey sounding to me. Might just be that amp sound. Let's just try to throw some reverb and maybe some warm EQs on there. Let's see, what do we got for EQs? Let's try this Hammer DSP. It's one of my favorites lately, by Kush. It's like a tube passive EQ. Already gets us way more in the ballpark. Still need that reverb though. My new favorite reverb. Well, I have two favorites. CLA Epic and the Neoverb. I'm just gonna try the Neoverb because it's got this reverb assistant. It's like the Isotope AI. It'll listen to the signal and then make its own like EQ preset for before and after the EQ, and it'll pick reverb sounds for you, and then you can move this thing around and adjust it. Like, let's hear that now compared to the amp. That's probably a little too long, so we can actually take the time down on this. Turn the dry wet down a little bit. Let's hear that. It's cool. It's kind of like the original. It gives it a little more definition. I gotta get rid of these other ones. So let's get rid of all these here. Yeah, this was half a reamp session and half like a mic shootout. But definitely when you are reamping, I highly recommend combining stuff and going through this process and kind of like treating things as one or two tracks instead of like 10 or 12 for one thing, because it just gets ridiculous. And you know, organization is going to be a mess, and also your computer will have to play back more audio tracks and DSP, so you're going to run into errors more. So definitely like narrowing stuff down like this is key for mixes like this. Put a little bit more of that reverb on. Actually, I might want to compress the guitar a little bit before the EQ, before the reverb, because it's still kind of a little jumpy. I want to just like level it out a little bit more. So let's just use a channel compressor. What's a good one? Let's use the Waves SSL. But use the CLA, which is like SSL 2.0. So now I'm essentially, I'm cutting the high end a little bit. Well, I'm boosting the low end big time on this Kush hammer. Cut the high end a tiny little bit, but then it goes into the CLA and then it hits the compressor, and then I'm boosting the high end back up. So the effect is that the compressor is only really working on the low end, because we're sending more of the low end into the compressor, and then we're replacing what we took out or boosted or whatever after. So that's kind of a cool effect for guitars. And the channel compressor for SSLs I find is a good, that's what I've been using lately on guitars. So this is a pretty cool chain now, I think. All right, so let's hear the other guitar and do the same process. All right, I'm just going to solo all of these. It sounds like the DI. Oh, pedals only. I had some oh no, this is another track that goes with that first guitar. See, this is why you gotta narrow this stuff down, because this is the part that we're working on. It's the solo. That's the original plug-in. That's the DI. Well, I think one of these has plug-in pedals and the other one is the DI. Doesn't really matter. I'm not really going to use any of these. Let's hear our reamped tracks. So the other one, we actually used the orange tracks amp, so I'm going to use the yellow tracks, so I have one on each amp. This one is definitely a little noisier though, so we might want to try iZotope on this. Yeah, it's pretty much on all the tracks. All right, let's try running iZotope on this and see how that works for us. So you turn the amp thing on and you hit learn. And now it's learned the profile, and now we're going to turn that on. We're going to take the squeak and stuff off. I don't care about these other two options. That's more for like acoustic guitars. Let's see if it tells us any more information. Number of notch filters to apply. I don't know. And then this for the sensitivity, amount of amp noise to remove. I want to remove all of it, to be honest. Oh, you know, it's getting rid of more of the hum. I hear a little bit of hum that's getting taken out. So I think we're actually going to have to use some different processing in addition to that. But actually, that was even on the wrong amp. We got to do it on this amp. So let's learn this profile. You can hear it more on this when that's with the processing on preview, and that's bypassed. I can definitely hear it taking out some of that electrical noise. Okay, so let's run these. We're gonna duplicate the playlist, which is key command is Control Shift Option Alt Command. So Control Command Option Shift and backslash. That will duplicate all of your selected tracks onto a new playlist. And then we're going to process this. Be right back. Had to take a drink of water real quick there. And I'm going to change the battery on my main camera while that processes. Just one sec while I reset up this camera. Okay, cool. We're back. All right, let's hear what that iZotope did, and then we'll see if we can find something, some other processing to get rid of that other amp noise. I might actually just drop this into the standalone iZotope application and see if we can use the AI in there to figure out what we should do. So I think it's like spectral repair or something that we need for that. Just one sec. All right, so I got the files. It's all of these here. It's the most recent ones. So those are the ones we've put the amp on already. So let's just run the AI on this. Let's see if will this preview for me? No audio device is selected. I gotta select the audio device. Zentour. Actually, I'm going to open this in RX-7 because I have RX-7 Advanced, which actually has more modules. RX-8 has that guitar denoise thing, but we already ran that, so we'll do this process in 7. So let's run the, all right, hold on one second. It's analyzing. Okay, so this gives us 3 options for what we can hear. That's the original. Still a bunch of noise on all of these. Not really liking any of these, to be honest. Let's just try the, let's see, the spectral denoise. That might be good. I'm just going to render that on this one and see if that will clean this up. Already you can see it changed the spectrum. Yeah, I think that's the vibe we need. Sounds way cleaner now. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm actually going to put all these together and then process all of these with that spectral denoise. And then let's see if we can just actually save them. I'm going to reopen the session real quick. Yeah, because it still had the other ones in memory. Alright, that's a way cleaner sound. Let's get rid of these other ones that we don't need right off the bat. Alright, so now we'll pick 1 or 2 of these mics. I'm looking for like a full body guitar sound. KM84, kind of interesting. I would expect that one to be brighter, but it's like not really that bright. These are the mic modelers. '57 modeled. How does it sound? The real 57. This is the modeler 57. It's just a little thinner. I don't know. Well, also because the mic modeler is a condenser and the 57's a dynamic, so that makes sense. I really liked that KM84 though. Let's hear that in the track. Definitely going to need some of that Neo on there. But since we've been using a lot of the isotope, let's try neutron 3 and just see what this gives us. So this is the same thing. It's got that isotope AI. So you just hit play. We did KM84. And then you can either enhance your track or listen to the other tracks, but you have to have isotope plugins on all the tracks, and that's a little more complicated. I just like this track enhance. We'll just auto detect the instrument. We're already pretty warm, so I'm going to go for, actually we'll go for upfront because it is a solo, and intensity medium. Definitely made it a little thinner, which I'm not super excited about, but you can always back these mix knobs off and make it more, it's probably this one that thinned it right out. Let's try it without that. You can probably just actually back this band off a little bit. Sorry about that, trying to get some more people on the stream here. Let's see. We definitely need that Neo. Even the default setting sounds pretty cool. Let's go more dramatic. Maybe a dark. Let's try this. It's a little too dark. Definitely going to need a little more compressor. This was like a multi-band compressor. Let's try a different SSL compressor. Different channel compressor. Let's just use the other waves one. SSL channel, here we go. Yeah, I typically like the fast release on these, but not so much the fast attack. I feel like they're too grabby for most applications. And in general, I'm more of a fast release on compressors fan, except when I'm not. But it depends. It always depends. But you can see, I mean, this is like Waves version 12, but it's the same old compressor that was like the Waves one that everybody used back in the day, and so it's definitely got that classic like plug-in vibe. But you can see like the graphics kind of look jank compared to the more modern, sleek-looking CLA Mix Hub, which is basically version 2.0. But sonically, they're pretty similar. Got what I needed to do, so I'm good with that. Let's hear it in the track. A little less reverb. Maybe we'll throw a little echo on it too. A little echo boy. The Telray is good for guitars. Telray setting. And I like to filter it out a little bit, turn up the low cut and high cut, throw some saturation, a little feedback. I don't know, we might try a ping pong. Let's hear how it sounds. That'll make it a little more wider. Eighth and eighth. There's without it. Vibe City. Levels on the master are looking good. Since I turned up my monitors, I wasn't tempted to go loud. Now we have plenty of headroom over here. Got a little clips here and there, but it's no big deal because we're already in the box. Yeah, like I said, once you're in the box, you're already at 32-bit floating point, so internal clips really don't matter as much because you can always just adjust everything without degrading the audio quality. We do have a couple more tracks here. We have a piano and organ to bring in. Throw a little Neo on that too. Now I'm just doing these like on the individual tracks because there's not that many tracks in the mix, so I'm not really worried about cranking on my DSP. But if I was in a bigger mix session, or if I had like 7 guitars or something, a bunch that are going on the same thing, then I might put this on an aux send. But for right now, since I'm only using, let's see, 1, 2, 3 Neos and 1 Echo Boy, I mean, that's about how much I would use on a full mix in an aux return situation anyway, so totally fine on DSP. Let's look at my system usage. Not even touching it. Hardly taxing my system at all. 22% when it's playing, 23% overall. None of the cores are passing 13%. So that's the type of headroom on your CPU you want to have if you're going to throw high DSP plugins on every track. So let's reverb assistant that. Trying to find a good blend here. Kind of like it over there. Maybe throw a little modulation on it. Maybe a little less modulation. Track is pretty sparse, and we already compressed the guitars a bunch, so I feel like I don't want to necessarily compress the piano, because that'll just bring up those like sustains basically, and then that'll kind of take up too much space. And we already added the reverb too, so I'm not worried about compressing the piano on this mix. Let's hear this organ. Woo! That is clipped. Not sure why that's so clipped, but oh, it's the elastic audio too. It's got to wait a second till it re-renders. I'm going to try to notch out some of that clipping, and we can get rid of a little of this mud here too. Ooh, that is ringing. Get rid of some of that. It's still clipped though. I don't know. So I guess we gotta kind of like work with the clipping. Might even try to clip it on a different frequency as well. That's not quite so overpowering. So maybe like in here somewhere. Did I cut the lows in this? Let's hear it in the mix. Now I want to find a good frequency of this to bring out, to find a little space, because it's kind of like this drony sound, and I just don't want it to like suck up too much of the detail of the mix. Like it, excuse me, it might even not really actually be necessary. But let's find a color EQ, like one of these vintage modeled EQs or something, and see if we can bring out some cool frequencies. How about, let's try, oh, the Precursor. This is one of my favorites. PSP Precursor. It's almost like a Neve, but not really. Maybe a high mid frequency. I guess it's more like a almost like a 32C. I think that's like this 1.94K. That's where most of the organ sound is actually coming from. So we can cut the rest of these a little bit. Throw some more saturation on it. Okay, cool. Now that like we've got kind of the sounds together, the main thing that's sticking out to me is like we put these awesome reverbs all over the guitars and stuff, but now the drums are actually sounding a little dry in comparison. So I want to see what we can do with that. And then when we were at Telefunken and Dylan interviewed Alan Venitosh, Alan was saying that to make, you know, he like took a look at what we did because we were trying to really recreate like the vintage like mono sound with like minimal mics. But what Alan was saying was what he would have done is maybe put a stereo room. So what we can do is we can take this this kit. It's either going to be the kit center or maybe one of the mono overheads. Let's just hear them real quick. And I have this Shep's Upmix plugin, which makes a mono source into a stereo. So let's hear these overheads and just take a listen, and we'll pick one to try that on. I like that 67 for this. Actually, we could maybe bring back the 47 and do it with that one. Where's the 47? Is it this one? Yeah. Yeah, we're going to put this on a separate bus though. Just put it to the master out for now. So let's load the plugin and see what that does for us. Shep's Mono Upmix. Really cool stuff. That's nothing. Really cool. That's with bypassed, and that's all in. So we might even, since we have so many other drum mics, I'm gonna go like over the top. Like it doesn't sound, it sounds like too washy in solo, but like in the mix, I think it'll be okay. Now I want to take the drums and put them all on one bus, so we have like a drum kit bus. So let's just make that happen. Kit bus. And then we'll have all of our mix faders right here. So let's put this on, what are we on? Let's try 17 and 18. And then I gotta put these on there too. Snares and the kick bus. All to 17 and 18. I'm gonna solo isolate my other auxes too. And then we can actually do the VCA grouping thing again too. I already have a group for all of the drums. So I'll just make a VCA for that. Now I can just solo the drums. to throw like some vintage compression. I've been loving this Abbey Road RS-124 lately. That studio with the Super Fuse sounds nice, and they just have an update. I did a video about this when it came out. Forget when it was, December maybe. But there's an update since I did the video, and now they have this high frequency roll off, which I actually set to default on. So when I pull up this plugin, it automatically has that on. Shout out to Rich Nazario for that idea. And then I'm gonna back off the mix because I really liked that the studio mode with the Super Fuse on, but it's way too compressed for this song, so I'm just gonna put it like parallel compression. So we can take it all the way to 0 and then just start bringing it in to get the amount of parallel compression that we want. That's without it. And I think we can actually, well, I got to hear it in the mix, but I think we can lower the amount of that ambience track now that we're compressing it. Because compression will just bring out the natural ambience of drums anyway. Anything that's like acoustically recorded, when you compress it, it's going to bring out more of the room sound. I don't know, I think it still could have a little more ambience, a little more wavy. It's a really wavy track. I almost want more high frequency roll off. Let's try an EQ. Let's throw this backs. Dangerous backs. This is like a bass and treble mastering EQ. I use this on my master fader all the time. I love it. Shelving EQ, that's what they're called. That's with it off. Still a lot of hi-hat in the mix, so I'm going to bring up the close mics and then bring down the overheads a little bit. Now we can actually try that, some more of that neutron stuff, just to kind of automatically mask out frequencies for us. Let's try loading that on the full drum kit. I might not even do any processing. I might just load it so it sends its signals to the other ones. Let's see what we did on the bass again. I'm going to bust these basses together too. Man, my keyboard is bugging out right now. Having some trouble connecting. think I'm low in batteries. It's all right. So we'll throw the bass to bus 19. Bring that into this aux. Oh, and I did want to have that Neutron signal on the kick, so I'm going to use this masking feature in Neutron to mask the bass and the kick. I'm just going to try to decide which one I want to be the dominant. I'm thinking the bass is going to be the dominant one. So let's run the bass first. Let's go for warm. Now we're going to run the Neutron on the kick. We'll just do balanced and low. We'll do medium. But once this runs through its AI, then we're going to mask some frequencies from the bass. So by masking, I mean it'll just automatically detect what the other instrument is doing, and then it'll make this EQ curve carve out holes so that the other instrument can exist in the same frequencies. It's really good for bass stuff, like your bass and kick. You always want to make sure those are on two different frequencies. And typically on a song like this, I would do the bass more of a lower, like 60 to 80 hertz, and the kick more in the 90 to 120 hertz is kind of where I'm looking for that punch. But let's just see what Neutron says for us. And lo and behold, where did it cut the kick? Right here at 60, just below 60. And the bass, it had it boosting here, but I guess it didn't need it. There's a lot of frequency already in there. Cool, that's great. I want to hear a little more of this compression on the drums. I'm just going to turn the mix up a little bit. Maybe turn the output down a little bit. Definitely want to hear a little more of that ride when he hits the ride. Seems to be like all hi-hat. Let's find the mic that has the most ride and then boost some frequencies on that. It's mostly the room. piano a little bit. I want to find a cool frequency for the piano to poke out at too. The classic Jimmy Douglas frequency is 7K, which coincidentally on the Neve 1073 there's a 7K boost. That's typically what I go for. So we already used the Sheps. Let's try the Arturia Neve. See how that sounds on the piano. 7.2K on this Neve. It's nice because it's in that top end. It gives it more presence, but there isn't really anything else that's kind of boosted around that frequency. You know, a lot of the other stuff's boosted more in the mid-range. Especially, we don't have vocals on this track, but like the guitars and I believe the organ I boosted at about 2K. The bass I boosted at 700, I think. No, that's not right. I boosted something at 700. Oh, it was probably the kick. Yeah. But anyway, so 7K is like a great frequency for pianos for that reason. Shout out to Jimmy Douglas for that tip. Here's what it bypassed. Just kind of brings it to life. I'm EQing after the reverb. I'm just treating everything as like the sound now. Make sure our solo pops out enough. I think we need a little more on that solo. This also might need a little frequency to poke out. What's another EQ we haven't used yet? What about this one? I never used this thing. Gem. I think it's like an API style. Yeah, it looks like a sideways API, kinda. Except the knobs are separated. Or I guess it could be a 32C, you know, depending on how you think about it. Wondering why that wasn't doing anything. You have to turn the bands on. I was like, wow, I should be hearing some boost. What does this harmonics do? I literally never use this plugin. Here's without it. With it. I'll go with it. Cool with that. All right, let's hear it. Got to find a cool frequency for our other rhythm guitar too. I may use a lot of plugins, but I'm not doing a lot on each plugin. That's kind of the key for me. You know, you can go crazy, but you don't have to. SciQ, I always forget about this one. Soundtoys. It's got that drive. compress it a little harder because it's kind of poking out now that we're boosting some frequencies. Wonder if we just take like a shelf EQ and, I mean, I know we kind of already did this, but I'm going to do it even more. Just like lower the top end on the drums. That's sounding pretty good. All right, so I think what I'm going to do for now is we're just going to throw a quick mastering chain on it and then bounce it. So usually the first thing I do for mastering, like the mastering chain, is I'll throw this Slate virtual mix rack, and I have the console bus. And I basically just use this as a gain knob, but I do have it set on the Neve setting, which kind of boosts the low end a little bit. And I just like to make sure that I'm hitting around here, around this 0, which it is. It's a little hot, so we'll just back off a little. We saw some clips before anyway. This is the quieter section of the song. So I do that to make sure I'm hitting my compressors at the right level. By compressors, I mean the compressors I'm about to add here. I do the Plug-in Alliance Shadow Hills Class A, not the regular Shadow Hills. I only like the Class A. It has the red lights. The regular one has the green lights, but I don't know. I never liked the sound. I never loved the sound of the green lights one. Only the red lights for whatever reason. And this is actually 2 compressors in one. There's a optical and a discrete, so it's basically slow and fast. And then on default, this shows you the optical, the fast, and then this one shows you the slow, and that's the signal flow too. So this is left and right, unless you set it to mid-side, which I usually do. And I do the parameter link, so when I adjust one, it adjusts the same on the other side as well. So let's hear this. And I only do a tiny little bit of compression on this. Yeah, like half a dB on the optical, probably, half to 1 on the discrete as well. This one's like super grabby, so that's why both versions, the green and the red. But the cool thing that I like about this, other than the mid-side, and you get the high-pass sidechain filter, we can throw some of that on there. Mono maker, stereo width. These are all standard like BX features that are super handy, especially for mastering. Let's just make sure, because I turned up the high-pass sidechain filter, which means that the drums aren't going to hit the threshold quite as hard. So let's just make sure our levels are still right for the gain reduction. Yeah, it's fine. And then this switch here switches between steel, iron, and nickel, which I think is really cool. So I just flip through these and find one that sounds best for the particular song. I like iron, I think. Iron sounds the warmest. All right, so that's the Shadow Hills. And then I throw a stereo compressor. I use another Plug-in Alliance one, the SPL Iron. And this one's cool because it's really smooth when you just like ride it the whole time. Like the Shadow Hills, it was just barely, tapping the gain reduction a little bit on those those transients basically. But this one I do slow attack, slow release. I like this germanium setting. I don't know, I flipped through these and I found that this is the one that I like. But then I bring the threshold all the way down. So this is like literally gonna pin it. So let's hit play and see what that sounds like. Oh, it's not a full pin, but it's like just riding constant gain reduction. But it's slow attack and release, so it's very smooth. It just kind of glues the sound together. This is more of that glue compressor. I do like the gain to be a little less though, so I'm gonna back off the input. You change this to minus, and this is now a cut. Yeah, we can put it here, -4. A lot of noise swell at the end of that guitar. We're gonna have to trim that out. And then this one has a similar thing with its air bass and tape roll off or bypass. So I'm guessing we're probably gonna go with the tape roll off for this vibe, but let's just hear them. Kind of opens it up nicely. But yeah, the tape roll off, that gives it that more like vintage vibe that I'm looking for on this mix. We don't have to go crazy with plugins, so let's just do, I like the, I'm big on plugin alliance stuff for mastering. So let's go with the Black Box next, if I can find it. Oh, up here. Just put a little saturation on the mix. Yeah. I used to use these Tryout and Air all the time, but I haven't been recently. I don't know. Because then now what I do is I'll throw the Dangerous EQ after, and then I'll boost the high end on here. Just give it some of that air. All right, and now, since we're on ozone, isotope, we're gonna, run that isotope tip. We're gonna go with the Ozone 9. Just run the mastering assistant, see what happens. There's that volume that it turned down before. Woo. Yeah, Maximizer brings it back up to like full streaming volume. Had to turn my headphones back down. And then I like to throw the Pro L2 right after that just to do like the final limiting. Set my peak to -0.1, -0.01, so to make sure we don't have any clips. Boost it up a little. This doesn't have to be a super loud song, so LUFS, we're at -10, -9. That's not too crazy. Let's see if any of these styles sound better or different. Pretty similar. We're not hitting it super hard in here. We can dither it here to 16 bits, so we can bounce it out at 16-bit 44.1. A lot of distributors will still only take 16-bit 44.1 files, so you really can't go wrong with that. We have to clean up that guitar noise at the very end. Right there. Let's just fade that out. Oh, maybe it's the bass. Oh, I'm on grid mode. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's do it. Real-time bounce so we can hear it. So I didn't use any of my mix template or anything on this. You know, I'm just kind of doing it from scratch because this is more about the reamping. But I'll probably go through that on a future video. This is more just like a standard kind of in the box type mix. So let's bounce it and take a listen. Wave and MP3, 16-bit 44.1. Oh, we can update the date. What is it? 1/28/21. And we're not rough mix anymore. This is the mix, baby. All right. That ending's a little rough, but we can edit that another time. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. I feel like a track like this would probably be used more like, you know, for interlude or something like that. But anyway, so that was the mix, brought to you by Creating the Sound, and thank you so much to our friends at Telefunken for letting us use your studio to record these drums. Amazing session and sounds that we got up there, and we got some killing reamps from their mics, and most importantly, do not forget to enter the giveaway. We're doing a giveaway with Telefunken and it ends tomorrow, and if you've not already entered, please do so. You can find the link on our socials. We're giving away a copy of all of our paid courses, as well as a Telefunken kick and snare mic combo, which are pretty much the two main mics that were used on this session. We used that on the kick and the snare, and we also used that to reamp the bass and the guitar. So solid mics, and it's a giveaway, so you know, what do you have to lose? Nothing. Definitely recommend checking that out. And thanks a lot for watching. We'll be back next week. I'm really excited about next week's live stream. We're going to be doing a synthwave production. So I've got Dylan's drums. He did like a synthwave project. I haven't actually worked it out. It might be a two-part stream. It might be just one. I'm not quite sure yet. We've got to figure out the format. But what we're going to do is pretty much just create a whole track off of these drums, and I'm going to use my synths you know, I've been like producing a lot of synthwave music anyway, so it's right up my alley. I'm super excited about it. So it's going to be same time, same place, next Thursday, 8 p.m. We will see you there. Thank you so much for watching. This is Cooper Anderson, creating the sound. Shout out to Dylan Wissing. Shout out to Telefunken. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.